God. Welcome back to the CONVO couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is on those ones and twos. Fam.
Fam. It's Friday.
It's Friday. it's Fam Time Friday, and we have a great show for you today. We haven't really broken down the debates just yet, and we're going to break it down like cray-cray. But first, to start the show, we have something awesome. Electoral politics. Why don't you start off, fam?
Okay, so a lot of us were waiting very anxiously.
Pins and needles.
It's been a whirlwind of the last week and a half. We went to the KDM convention, and then before that we had the town hall with Tulsi. So during that town hall, Tulsi said, I asked her about Bolivia, and she said she needed to gather more information, and she would get back to us on that. People were like, Tulsi, where's your stance on Bolivia? I was like, Tulsi, come on, because she's a regime change candidate, and Bernie Sanders called it a coup. Initially in his tweet, he said what appeared to be a coup. And then when he went on the forum with Jorge Ramos, which we're going to show again.
A coup.
I call that a coup. Exactly. And so people were awaiting like what the regime change candidate would say. And of course, Tulsi did not disappoint. Nope. She went and did her research and said that she was talking to the embassy of Bolivia. And what she said was, Pasta, would you like to read it?
What happened in Bolivia is a coup. Period. The United States and other countries should not be interfering in the Bolivian people's pursuit of self-determination and the right to choose their own government.
You don't sound anything like Tulsi, but that's still a great
I don't do a good Tulsi imitation. If it was Bernie, I can get it down and stuff like that.
That's because you're New York fan.
Well, you know what? I'll practice the whole...
You're not zen enough like Tulsi.
Well, you should do the Tulsi imitations, and I'll do the Bernie ones and stuff. But this is a great statement over here. She says what happened in Bolivia is a coup, period. There's no questions asked. She did her research. She talked to people on the ground, and this is what she came up with. And the fact that she even went further by saying the United States and other countries should not be interfering in the Bolivian people's pursuit of self-determination and the right to choose their own government.
That's the most important part, because that's the part that a lot of people left out. So Marianne Williamson was also one of the people to make a tweet about this. And the thing with my problem with her statement was that she said the election should be fair and democratic. The elections were fair and democratic. So I didn't like, and Ilhan Omar made something similar, AOC. And so Tulsi actually went right to the crux of the problem as much as she could without saying this is a CIA backed coup. She said, that United States needs to stay away because clearly we are implicated, right? Mm-hmm. And that she is a presidential candidate. She's a sitting congresswoman. She does have to be careful. And so does Bernie, exactly what they say against the government or against, the top secret sort of information. But I do commend her for taking it that step further, because that makes a huge difference. We have to acknowledge that the United States is involved and is continuously involved throughout the world in overthrowing regimes. And this is why, she's the regime change candidate.
I think there was one more thing that I would have liked to hear, but I didn't know if she could do it. Mm-hmm. And that was finishing on her sentence, the pursuit of self-determination and the right to choose their own government. Mm-hmm. And if anybody in our government is found to be meddling with the opposition, they should be held accountable too. Yeah. Something to that magnitude. I mean, she did say we need to stop messing around.
I agree.
And that's great. But this is a coup that crept up on us. It snuck up on this. I myself was a little surprised because I thought that Evo Morales had more power within his country than any other country. And I just assumed that because it had the biggest indigenous population out there. And he was a great indigenous leader who cut their, poverty by 40%, the extreme poverty by 60%. Everybody got jobs. The illiteracy rate went from like 14% to 2%. I thought he was so powerful that I didn't see it coming. Now, I started getting the idea. I'm like, wait a second. The OAS is starting to snoop around there. But I thought it would be more like a Venezuelan kind of situation where they wouldn't be able to get a hold and it just wouldn't take place. But it happened. It happened quickly. It happened fast. And I have no fault of Tulsi's for taking the time to get it right. She is held to a higher standard than anybody else when it comes to regime change. So she wanted to get all the facts straight. So I'm glad she took the time to do that. And we kind of talked about the difference between her this time just saying, hey, listen, I'm gathering the facts. I'll get back to you. Yeah. As opposed to when I asked her about China, Hong Kong. It wasn't bad, but it was a little bit, look to the people of Hong Kong, look to the people. And I was like, that ain't the answer I'm looking for. I'm looking about who's funding this stuff that's going on. She progressed on that. She came forth, and when it came to town halls, it's like, oh, look who's been doing her homework on China.
Right.
So count on Tulsi Gabbard to go out there, to grab the facts, to get it right, and to nail it. And this is awesome because even though it took a little extra time, she got it right 100%.
And not only she got it right, she took it to the next level, which is important. Like, I think, like, she should have said something earlier, but at the same time, because she came back with something so specific, like she always does, I think people shouldn't be, like, knocking her down because she took too long.
Yeah.
First of all, like we said, we had a busy week, and so did she. She had several events. She had a town hall. She wasn't invited to the convention, but then she had another event, and then of course we had the debate. So it's been nonstop this week for us. And then she was sick, and then she had to serve, and it was like I understand why. Yeah. Like I said, the timing does matter. It did have an impact when Bernie said it. I think she would have said something at the debates if she had been allowed to be asked a foreign policy question. She kind of had to push herself on the foreign policy questions because they weren't really letting her go on those questions because they know that she would freaking wreck them.
Yeah. Well,
so
I think she used the time of that foreign policy to go after Pete Buttigieg because that's what was needed and whatnot. And she didn't have a lot of speaking time. Yeah. But also, too, fam, to point out the fact that, you know, it's one thing to say it's a coup because it could be a coup, but that doesn't also imply who's involved with the coup. You know what I'm saying? This says, hey, and the United States need to stay out of it. She went further, like we said. I thought it was great. And, you know, there was a political side of me that was saying, well, maybe she's saving this for the debates to just go, bah, in front of everybody. Yeah. But if she didn't have the time. She was sick. Almost less than a day later, she had the comment. We had some insider information. Somebody from Hawaii was on a rock fin that night and said, don't worry. It's coming, and it came. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate Tulsi for keeping her word. That's the thing she does. She's a great leader. She doesn't tell you bullshit answers. She tells you, hey, I need to do my research, and she'll come back and give you that answer. So you want to read that?
Yeah, I got a couple super chats real quick, and we'll get to the topic. So thank you, Tulsi. Way to go today. Scott McLaughlin, aloha. How was that, my Scottish?
You said aloha in Scottish. That's
well, that's Scotty gets the aloha. Scotty, thank you for the super chat contributions. This is your second one, and it is always appreciated on the couch.
It's Friday, fam. I don't know how much more I can take.
I know. I'm tired. We got to lift everybody up, though. What could be done to boost question response time for the marginalized candidates at the debate? Yang given 6.40 in the 2-hour debate is an example. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing we can do because the establishment has a hold of it, but it's just hang around longer to be less candidates, and then you get more speaking time.
I would also say that be very vocal about it. # let Yang speak, let Tulsi speak. Yeah. I think just constantly hammering those points on the mainstream media is good. It at least makes some noise. We really can't do anything. I mean, they control these debates, who does them, how many seconds they get. They control the narrative. They made Elizabeth Warren. We're going to talk about that. They asked Elizabeth Warren. They gave her all the best questions, the longest time. Bernie Sanders, for being a front runner, didn't really get a lot of time comparatively. So,
but he had his best debate. And here's the thing that Andrew Yang needs to be concentrating on. Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard has to do.
It's very little.
It's when you get your moments, make them count.
Exactly.
When they ask you, what are you going to do when you say to Vladimir Putin on your first day?
You don't say that.
Don't screw it up the way you did, Andrew. You get little speaking time. Nail it. You came out of the gate great. You really complimented Tom Steyer on how he spends his money for climate change nowadays. So you looked like a team player. You look good. You had the audience. But as soon as, just like the press conference, as soon as you get these questions, the nose friggin' dive. Yeah. So you got to get better on foreign policy. Say hi to Stephen Wilbrent, Scott Dakota, Robert Swanick, Matt Sevilla, Gilbert Flores, all Michiko, all hanging out on the Facebooks on a Friday night, fam. Debate recap time.
So we have a debate recap, and I just want to share with you guys. I did this video just to give a summary of how great Bernie did in this debate. And it's not just because he's my favorite candidate, because I think Tulsi did really well as well. I think Yang did pretty good. I think Steyer was actually the third best guy, just because he seems more genuine and actually has some policy to back him up. He's a billionaire, so I wouldn't vote for him.
He needs to come, though, with the heat, though, man. When Joe Biden goes after him for his coal,
he's like...
You want to be all over the intranet,
he doesn't
Mr.
have that.
Steyer? punch back. When they go after you for your history and your coal, you should have been telling Joe Biden, well, you know, at least I didn't just a couple years ago hand my son a job for a couple $1 million in freaking Ukraine, fracking the shit out of it with Burisma. I mean,
I don't know if he knows that. That's the thing.
How does he not know this? Because it's all over the impeachment process about what's going on. If you don't know this, you don't belong on the stage.
I agree.
And I like Tom Steyer from what I saw. Like I said, somebody was talking about him in a meeting and I got up and walked out. But when we saw him in the press conference, doesn't mean I necessarily like all his answers or I agree with him or I would vote for him. But he seems genuine to want to help and do something from the position he is in.
So I just want us to show a recap so we can talk about Bernie's performance a little bit.
All right, let's watch this video.
The current healthcare system is not only cruel, it is dysfunctional. People have been talking about healthcare for all. Well, you know what? I think now is the time. We spend twice as much as do the people of any other country, and yet we got 87 million uninsured, underinsured. 500,000 people go bankrupt. They come down with cancer, and that's a reason to go bankrupt. I think when you talk about the pain of working families in this country, majority of the American people want to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. So I believe, we got to deal with Trump, but we also have to have an agenda that brings our people together. What are we going to do in decades? We don't have decades. What the scientists are telling us, we don't get our act together within the next 8 or 9 years. We're talking about major cities going underwater. We're talking about increased drought, talking about increased extreme weather disturbances. The United Nations is telling us that in the years to come, there are going to be hundreds of millions of climate refugees. Tell the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. One of the big differences between the Vice President and myself is he supported the terrible war in Iraq, and I helped lead the opposition against it. I voted against the very first Gulf War as well. But to answer your question, I think it is time, after spending many trillions of dollars on these endless wars, which have resulted in more dislocation and mass migrations and pain in that region, it is time to bring our troops home. And if it's necessary to negotiate with the Taliban, of course, we will do that. We have got to bring Iran and Saudi Arabia together in a room. We must treat the Palestinian people as well with the respect and dignity that they deserve. The political system we have today is corrupt. So what we need to do, simple and straightforward, if you are 18, you have a right to vote. End of discussion.
Okay.
Hi, Cheyenne.
So, recap, just because I feel like Bernie hit pretty much every subject, not just domestically, but foreign policy-wise, and I'm really, really critical, and so is Pasta, on foreign policy, and he really impressed me on his foreign policy this time around. It's one of the things that I've been really critical about regarding Bernie, and I thought with the whole Saudi Arabia comment that we need to bring them in the room together, with we need to end our wars and bring our troops home, unequivocally, that we need to treat the Palestinian people better. I didn't like his pro-Israel comment, and I've shared that with some of my other friends who didn't like it. But if he said we need to treat the Palestinians equally, and then he went on to discuss the unemployment rate, I felt like he could have gone further on that. But he also talked about talking to the Taliban. He also talked about the climate change. He talked about Medicare for all. He talked about how we don't have time to implement these incrementalist policies. And so he hit pretty much every subject on the head. And it was nice to see that. And he was angry. I mean, that's Bernie in his best, when he's like angry Bernie.
I thought he was going to say, the big difference between me and you, Joe, is you like decaf coffee and I like regular. So, I mean, I thought he was going to have a good time. He was his best performance. That was a bad joke. It was his best performance by far. I mean, he really looked energetic. He was there. He made his joke. I wrote the damn bill again, but he kind of said it in a way like, I can't say this too many times. He did say he would meet with the Taliban. He's, you got to meet with the Taliban. You know, and I understand that might not be
And he called out Joe Biden. I mean, that was a call out. You know, I didn't vote for the Iraq war. He did. I didn't vote for the Gulf War. You know, like he's I see him as the compassionate humanitarian, sweet candidate, and I see Tulsi as like the one that's like boxing, like boom, boom, here, Bernie, I'm here. I'm just gonna take all these people down. And that I loved seeing that, and I saw a little bit of the Tulsi in him, like with the you know, and our endless wars and all of that. And I liked it when Tulsi was echoing something similar by talking to our adversaries as well as our allies, and that sort of thing. They did it. They weren't saying the same thing. They weren't like riffing off each other, but they were saying similar things in different times, so to speak.
Yeah. I just want to say hi to Lori Mountain Pal Gal. I know you said you had a problem with the Rockfin the other day and it wasn't working, and you endorsed us. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry it didn't work. We are talking to the people who are running the system and trying to get all those kinks worked out. But I think it's great the fact that we were able to go there, watch these debates, watch Bernie go and light Joe up like a candle.
It worked better than last time. Yeah. So each time it's sort of improving. So just really quick, I want to go back to the forum because I did it. It's a really short video, and just reiterate what Jorge Ramos said, because I don't think I pointed this out before, and what the Univision is trying to do, what they were trying to do to Bernie in regards to Bolivia, because a lot of people were critical of Bernie when he said it could be what could be a coup. But then he went on here and like flat out like said, oh no, like this is a coup. But he also talked about Evo Morales' bless you, his economic policies that helped indigenous people. Nobody's really talked about that. So I think that's very important.
I want to ask you a question about Bolivia.
Yes.
You wrote in a tweet that you thought it was a military coup what happened in Bolivia. Many people have other point of view. They think that Evo Morales had been in power 14 years, that he wanted 5 more, and that he wanted to become a dictator. So what do you think?
No, I don't agree with that assertion. I think Morales did a very good job in alleviating poverty, in giving the indigenous people of Bolivia a voice that they never had before. Now, we can argue about his going for a 4th term, whether that was a wise thing to do.
And the OAS thought it was a fraud, the election on October the 20th.
Some people think that as well. But at the end of the day, it was the military who intervened in that process and asked them to leave. When the military intervenes, Jorge, in my view, that's called a coup.
So at the very end there, when he's talking to him at the very end, it says, how do you feel, the question that he's asking is, how do you feel about supporting a person that wanted to be a dictator? On the screen at the bottom, it says that in Spanish. So I want to point that out to people, because Univision is trying to not only get him in a, not Univision, well, Univision is a network owned by NBC Universal, but Jorge Ramos himself is a neoliberal. I mean, he is as neoliberal as they come. He does not like Bernie Sanders. And so he's not only asking him these questions, they're putting at the bottom, they're making it seem like Bernie Sanders is this socialist, which a lot of the Latin American older people say, oh, él es un socialista, él es un comunista, blah, blah, blah. Once they associate him with Castro, with Chavez, it's done. And that's the problem. Like these older Latin American people, they don't know. They get this is all they watch. There's really not that many channels that speak in Spanish regarding this sort of politics outside of Univision or Telemundo, and they're all neoliberals. So this is what they're getting, and so this is why a lot of them see Bernie Sanders as dangerous socialist guy, when really all he's saying is like facts. Like no, like this was a coup. The military turned, blah blah blah, and you know, some people are saying these elections weren't valid, but blah blah blah, and he, you know, and you can tell he doesn't think that there was anything wrong with the elections, because he would have said so. Like it's really, but he has to watch out what he says. It's really disgusting how they do this. They tell people, like, you know, they try to make it seem like Bernie Sanders is like this radical socialist to Latin Americans, and Latin Americans have been just like tricked a lot of the time into thinking that capitalism and Western imperialism is good and that any sort of socialism is bad. That's why you see a lot of Latin Americans in America themselves be very supportive of coups, like the Venezuelan coup and regime change because they see as like this better than that, not knowing that the reason these Latin American countries are under turmoil is because of Western imperialism.
Yeah, and if you have a chance to go to the CONVO Couch YouTube, we did an interview with a lady yesterday, Jennifer Perlman, and she lives in that Miami Lakes, Davie area, where she has a lot of those people you're talking about, those Venezuelans who are pro-Guaido, you know what I'm saying? They look a lot like me, and she spoke out against them, and they're in her, their constituents in her district. So big ups to Bernie Sanders for saying stuff like that. And I just want to point out that Jorge Ramos is just a hack. He's been a hack for a long time. The guy is terrible. He went to Venezuela. Max Blumenthal, a white Jewish boy, called him on it, was like at the airport and called him lying. He's been lying before, and to say that stuff again, he's one of those guys, those older kind of generation. And I grew up in South Florida. A lot of those older Cuban people, Puerto Rican people, they don't want any form of socialism whatsoever. The word is just a trigger word.
It's all of them.
Yes,
in Latin America.
They
do not
but the younger generation is seeing what's going on. They're seeing these heroes, these people like the Chavistas, the people like Hugo Chavez and Evo Morales. And we have a super chat contribution from Scott McLaughlin. He says, isn't what Pete proposed, Mexico, basically what caused the refugee crisis in Honduras? Tulsi's bid on judgment and leadership was dead on point.
We're going to go over that.
And absolutely right. What happened in Honduras, remember when Manuel Zelaya was thrown out, it was about a military base that's there. One of the most important military bases in Latin America is in Honduras. And then a 10-year contract with Israel for weapons and training ensued. So yes, that's why I love our audience. They're so informed. They're so great. Thank you, Scott McLaughlin, for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. And that girl, thank you for the super chat contribution, said just donated to Marianne. That girl. Wanted to make a contribution here as well. I listened to you guys to learn more.
Girl.
Thank you. That girl. Who's that girl? Okay, so what do we got next? There was a song by Madonna. Don't laugh over there.
We're going to go back to Tulsi because Tulsi really had a great debate, even though she was sick, even though she had very little time.
She made the most of it.
She made the most of it. And I think she's found her way as to how to do that, how to make the most of it. And people hate Pete Buttigieg. I mean, progressives, we just love to make fun of Pete Buttigieg. I personally, I don't make fun of him as much. I severely dislike his policies. I think he is much a warmonger. I think he's a liar just based on the questions that we asked him. His personality, everything, he just screams like a CIA-backed kind of candidate.
Can I try a Pete Buttigieg imitation?
Sure.
What we need to do is to restore the credibility of the United States. Now, I'm going to say a lot of things and not say a word. And what you got to do is you got to come to South Bend, Indiana. And even though I don't talk about policy, you see, you can target me and vote for me at any time. Next question. Was
you
that
need
okay?
to smile a little more.
All right.
Yeah.
But that's what he said to us. Once again, we went to the KDM convention, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to hype our channel, but we do have questions. And a lot of these questions, some of the questions we answered.
He never answered them.
They were affected. No, but I'm saying from all the candidates, we sensed a little bit of it. They kind of repeated themselves in this debate. So it was kind of cool to see that the CONVO Couch and Tina Desiree Burke, who was here with us, we influenced a little bit of that debate because when you get into these questions in these press rooms, you get asked hard questions. And if you nail it, you get a line, you reuse it. I mean, Elizabeth Warren is still using, this is the third time I think she's done it, the same statement, the same speech she used that she had at a barbecue 10 years ago, Johnny. I'll show it to you later. If you look at an old school speech from Elizabeth Warren, she's standing in the middle of the kitchen kind of doing that stuff. But let's get back to the personification of
the rot. Okay, so of course they asked Tulsi Gabbard, you recently said Hillary Clinton was blah, 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 the personification of the rot, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, they asked Kamala what she thought about what Gabbard said. Of course they did. Out of nowhere, right? And Kamala, of course, retorted thinking like she was just going to, be able to, skedaddle. But she was severely, severely wrong. So let's watch a little bit of what happened.
You have criticized Hillary Clinton as the, quote, personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party. What is the rot you see in the Democratic Party?
That our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests. I'm running for president to be the Democratic nominee that rebuilds our Democratic Party, takes it out of their hands, and truly puts it in the hands of the people of this country, a party that actually hears the voices of Americans who are struggling all across this country, and puts it in the hands of veterans and fellow Americans who are calling for an end to this ongoing Bush, Clinton, Trump foreign policy doctrine of regime change wars, overthrowing dictators in other countries, needlessly sending my brothers and sisters in uniform into harm's way to fight in wars that actually undermine our national security and have cost us thousands of American lives. These are wars that have cost us as American taxpayers trillions of dollars since 9/11 alone, dollars that have come out of our pockets, out of our hospitals, out of our schools, out of our infrastructure needs. As president, I will end this foreign policy, end these regime change wars, work to end this new Cold War and arms race, and instead invest our hard-earned taxpayer dollars actually into serving the needs of the American people right here at home.
Can you pause? See, I think they said that to her, fam, right? Thinking that it's like, okay, it's going to really hurt her. What's the, like, let's distance her. It might hurt her within the echo chamber of the Democratic Party, but that's already gone. It's lost. We know we ain't getting those votes anyways. A question like that, she takes it and she makes it work for her. And independents out there, they're listening. Yeah. Republicans that don't want to vote for Donald Trump, they're listening. Anti-interventionists, they're listening. And that's what she did.
And Hillary Clinton is like the most hated woman. I mean, both by progressives, independents, Republicans. I mean, nobody likes her. No. So it's just the stupidest thing to think that she's not going to turn this around and say that. But she also, once again, focuses on her central thing. Bernie Sanders' central thing is economic policy, Medicare for all. We're going to, attack these billionaires, like tax the rich, etc. Hers is we're going to end these wasteful regime change wars, bring represent the American people, bring our economy back from these wars. And so she goes over that over and over again until it cements. But she also pointed out Hillary's and Bush's foreign policy, which I thought was and in saying Hillary, this is what people don't realize. In saying Hillary, she's saying Obama. Now, the thing is, you don't criticize Obama right now when you're running for president. He was, the wonderful ex-POTUS, and that irritates me. But in criticizing Hillary Clinton, she is criticizing the Obama administration.
Absolutely.
Clearly. I mean,
Clinton worked for Obama.
Clearly, right? So to the people that say, well, she doesn't criticize Obama, well, her and Bernie are very nice to Obama, which irritates me. But this is how you criticize Obama, by going after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. And when she stood with the survivors up there at 9/11, they even kind of went after Obama about one of the, I can't remember the name of the act, but Obama signed this act which wouldn't allow the people to go out and sue Saudi Arabia, and he was disgusted by it. The lawyer was talking the people. By the way, Ruth P. left a Super Chat contribution. Thank you, Ruth P., for the Super Chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. India media rocks. Thanks, Ruth P. You rock. And yes, independent media does rock. It's very important. We're doing the work, ladies and gentlemen. We're out there, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not afraid to brag, because after this weekend and getting those presidential candidates on record, 5 of them couldn't say that Bolivia was a coup. I messed up and asked Pete Buttigieg what he would do day one foreign policy-wise, and I got that there was going to be like a reunition, I can't even say it, of the Oompa Loompas, reuniting of the Oompa Loompas, and there's going to be rainbows and sunshines. And
he used the words progressive and movement to describe his fundraisers where he gets all his money from.
Yes. I asked him that question he would do at day one, because in our press conference when Tulsi Gabbard was at the Proud Bird, was the one great question asked by the mainstream media, because they asked mostly bullshit questions. It was like, what would you do foreign policy? And she even led Tulsi and said, would you talk to a country, whatever? And Tulsi said, day one, I'm going to call a summit between China and Russia and sit down. We got to get rid of these nuclear weapons. We're going to denuclearize this world. Right. And that's the most important thing. That's the biggest threat. And it is the biggest threat, not just because she was on Hawaii with that false missile attack where, oh my God, can you imagine that you're wiped out? There's no way to hide. Yeah. So it is a big, serious issue. Donald Trump with Lord Bolton and Pompeo has just pushed the limit further with Russia, and the Democrats pushing Donald Trump because he can't do anything with Russia good, have actually pushed the Cold War through this Russiagate bullshit.
Yep. And she called that out. We need to end this Cold War nuclear arms race. So let's look at Kamala Harris's response.
Yes. Can I do a quick, because A. Mares is here. What's up, A. Mares? Thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Older, MSM, indoctrinated. Voters are everywhere. As we get closer to the primary, it's like ants about to invade your house in spring. This won't be easy, fam. Thank you, A. Mars and Glory Jones. A lot of those so-flow Cubans are racist too. Glory Jones, that's what you're saying. I ain't saying that, but listen, if you come from that territory, that time when it was just like, there was no independent media, you were fed a lie, and I understand their fear. The word socialism, the word communism. I lived in South Florida, and they hate it. But their children are learning. In fact, I met Tim Canova and a couple people the day the Miami Bernie office opened, and it was Cubans for Bernie's, and there was a lot of young Cubans there. So there's some avenues of hope that the younger generation will see what's going on. It's just a word. Everybody gets frightened by words, Sorry.
Fam.
Yeah.
You digress.
I will. So we're talking about who?
Fam. So we're going to talk about Kamala. So Kamala. It's Kamala, but she had a response to Tulsi, of course. So I want you guys to hear Kamala's response.
Yeah.
It's right under.
Right above the picture of Assad. That one. There you go. That is? There you go.
It's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time, who has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator. Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people above all else.
Congresswoman. I want to brief.
First of all, the stupid freaking moderator cutting her off was really rude. I mean, that's just
especially
let her finish her stuff.
When she's saying, I'm going to put the interests of the American people, not the party. And that's what I want to hear about from all the candidates. Like, I don't care about the Democratic Party. Why do you have loyalty to an emblem, to a label, to a letter? I don't understand why there's such loyalty to that. Like, the loyalty is with the people. And this One of the many reasons Bernie Sanders attracted me back in 2015 was because he was like talking about the corruption in the Democratic Party. He was talking about how the whole system is corrupt, how everything is rigged, and talking about that and saying we need to make our government by and for the people. And she's echoing the same thing. And Kamala Harris, and she's right, Kamala Harris cannot respond to any substance. All she has is Trump, 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 and oh look, you talked on Fox News, and Assad. Yeah. Like what she meant when she said she won't call a warmonger. She was talking about Assad.
Yeah. And here's the thing: guess who the warmonger was in Syria? It was Barack Obama. I'm so sorry, because this whole substance goes back to in this situation. Hillary too, but Obama was the one who was going around saying we're funding moderate rebels. They weren't moderate rebels. They were the most jihadist, crazy people you can go on the face of the earth. These were megalomaniac psychos from ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and it was bullshit. And she was calling him on it and saying, you shouldn't be doing that. That's dishonest. That's disingenuous over there. You're saying moderate rebels. You're lying to the people as we're funding the same people who supposedly killed us on 9/11. So that's what it's all about. And she was going on Fox, MSNBC. She was going anywhere she was going to say, no, you have to call these people for what they are. And she still gets blame on this one now. And people are like, oh, you're being bad to Muslims. You hate Muslims because you're saying this. No. Sycamore Timber. Look it up, Max Blumenthal. Hopefully we'll get him on the show, okay? We funded the craziest rebels out there, from what was the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to now was what become ISIL, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. It's disgusting. And the fact that, all these establishment Democrats really make me sick when it comes to this, because Assad wasn't the monster in Syria. We were. We funded the worst people. And we did it after we took Gaddafi's weapons and put it over into Syria, after we toppled that government, which now has a slave trade. Sorry, did I get a little something on you, fam?
You always do this, fam.
I got a little crazy,
I gotta
man.
Get like a case.
Well, you gotta get something, because we start talking about Syria.
It's timber sycamore, by the way, you guys, not sycamore timber.
Sycamore timber. Timber sycamore. It was Max Blumenthal, Management of Savagery. Some great stuff.
But I just want to show the hypocrisy of Kamala Harris, because, well, first let's look at a picture
on my tweet over here
of Nancy Pelosi and Bashar al-Assad in a meeting. So are we going to ostracize Nancy and cancel Nancy, who is so wonderful and great in standing up to Donald Trump? No, we're not going to do that, because
you know what they're saying?
This is
that was before we knew he was a crazy man.
Yeah, sure.
That was before he gassed people. Now after that.
Well, let's talk about war criminals.
All right.
Benjamin Netanyahu really likes Kamala Harris. They actually met together, and they discussed the potential for deepening cooperation in water management, agriculture, cybersecurity, and more. I express my deep appreciation for America's commitment to Israel's security. All of these things are very terrible, because Israel's security usually translates to killing more Palestinians. And of course, there she is with him. And of course, he has been indicted, on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, which, hopefully, let's hope it leads to, charges of war crimes, because that's really what we should get him on.
Exactly.
But this is a war criminal. Yeah. This is a war criminal. So again, I wouldn't fault Kamala for meeting with him, because she's an AIPAC darling, etc. Yeah. It's typical. This is where she gets her money. But to meet with somebody to avoid war, to meet with the president of the United States, what is wrong with meeting with the president? Shouldn't we want the president of the United States to do well? I'm just confused as to when that became a bad thing. Yeah, you don't have to like the guy, but you can at least meet with him to hopefully figure something out. I just don't understand.
I think Tulsi should do what she did to that one person who called her out, or tried to call her out about the Gujarat riots and Modi and whatnot. And she says, "Do you even know what that's about? Obama supports meeting with Modi and stuff like that. So anybody attacks her meeting with Bashar al-Assad, you should say, well, you don't agree with Obama and stuff, and meeting, that one tweet he put up is so damaging that he said he would meet with North Korea, Russia. He would meet with anybody on the campaign trail. He didn't do that when he got in office, but he said he would meet with all these people, because even Buttigieg, when he was going after Tulsi while he was being attacked, even said Trump with Kim. It's like these Democrats, these establishment Democrats, they live in their own echo chamber. They live in their own bubble. They have no shot. If it ain't Bernie or Tulsi on that stage, you better forget about it.
And so Kamala Harris was also got money from Trump and Ivanka for her campaign in California, just in case we didn't know. And then on top of that, after she criticized Tulsi Gabbard
for going on Fox.
She went on Fox. I mean, let's be real here. She's one of the biggest hypocrites in the world, this one. And she just sunk herself more. She just sunk herself more. And I almost feel bad for her, but I don't. So
they knew that was coming, though. That was such a setup. She's such a lousy actor.
Yeah.
Kamala, oh. And then she goes, now it's time for the speech. Boom. Like, really, they knew that was coming.
Actor,
if you don't, I mean.
Cory Booker's better.
Oh, my. Then who? Kamala?
As an actor, yeah.
He's way better.
Yeah. He has that personality.
Wait, so do you want to see the interview with Kamala and Fox?
If you want to give her the airtime, why not?
I just want to hear the BS that she says.
She is BS. She's the the woman is just.
Back to Atlanta, where correspondent Peter Ducey is working the spin room post-debate, and he snagged a pretty important interview of somebody who criticized someone else for being on Fox tonight. But you got her to do it, Peter. Kudos.
We did. Thank you. For the first time in any of the spin rooms.
To the United States Senate, I am one of those women. So it was just a simple need to correct him on that issue.
And in the Harris versus Gabbard fight, make your case for why you came out on top.
Well, look, I am a lifelong Democrat, and I believe that there is a need to speak truth about what we've been witnessing in terms of the way that she has characterized the Democratic Party. And so that is what I did tonight.
Okay, so she's got nothing. First of all, Tulsi is a lifelong Democrat herself, so that's kind of...
That was like a whimpering answer.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you noticed Kamala. She was like, she looked like distraught or something.
Yeah.
Deer in headlights is what you're looking for.
Deer in headlights, yeah.
I'm a lifelong Democrat.
She looked
oh my
uncomfortable.
God, look at the time.
She looked uncomfortable.
She needs to drop out. I have a feeling she will soon. Yeah. So Tulsi went after Buttigieg too. This was the juiciest part, in my opinion, because of what Pasta kind of mentioned before, the cartel sending the military to take care of the cartels in Mexico. And so here she talks about the cartels, and this is where she starts accusing him.
Can we hold up 1 second? Just because somebody made that super chat contribution, I just want to talk about it because it's about, and fam, I think it was directed to you. Ruth P. says, Harris type BS bothers me. I can't imagine how disturbing it is to a soldier. And somebody else just before we move out of Kamala Harris says, have to say this, I hate identity politics, but as a woman of color, I hate Kamala even more. Plus, Pete Buttigieg's counterterrorism plan is terrifying.
Yeah.
Glory Jones, Fiorella, I'm so sorry for interrupting, but I thought I should just hit that Kamala stuff before we moved on to your other favorite candidate. Now, I want to say my partner over here, she laid out 3 candidates that we have to worry about. Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and Elizabeth Warren. She's done shows on all of them. And now we see it coming to fruition months later. The people we needed to worry about, Kamala Harris, who got chopped down, Pete Buttigieg, who got chopped down. Fam, there's only one more person in the next debate to go after.
And she kind of tried to go after her before, but they didn't let her.
They went to commercial break.
Yeah. And it was, they've been protecting her like no other, Warren. Yeah. But
let's get back to Buttigieg.
Yeah. So
I'm saying his name right now.
Buttigieg, finally, after 5 million years.
She made me say it 10 times in front of the mirror. Ladies and gentlemen at home, try it. Buttigieg, 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 Buttigieg. It's like Beetlejuice.
Fam, you are so obnoxious. Oh my God. Jeez. This is what happens when Fam has coffee and I don't have any coffee. And I'm like, here. And he's like, here. So let's just watch the video before Pasta,
But I want to get back to Pete Buttigieg and his comment about experience. Pete, you'll agree that the service that we both have provided to our country as veterans by itself does not qualify us to serve as commander-in-chief. I think the most recent example of your inexperience in national security and foreign policy came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels. As commander-in-chief, leader of our armed forces, I bring extensive experience serving for 7 years in Congress on the Foreign Affairs Committee, on the Armed Services Committee, on the Homeland Security Committee, meeting with leaders of countries around the world, working with military commanders of different commands, dealing with high-level national security briefings, understanding what's necessary, the preparation that I've gotten to walk in on day one to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Congresswoman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll allow you to respond.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years, with law enforcement cooperation and a military relationship that could continue to be developed with training relationships, for example. Do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
That's not what I said.
I'm talking about building up alliances. And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment that I would not have sat down with a murderous dictator like that.
Congresswoman Gabbard, let me allow you to respond.
Thank you. You were asked directly whether you would send our troops to Mexico to fight cartels, and your answer was yes. The fact checkers can check this out. No. But your point about judgment is absolutely correct. Our Commander-in-Chief does need to have good judgment. And what you've just pointed out is that you would lack the courage to meet with both adversaries and friends to ensure the peace and national security of our nation. I take the example of those leaders who have come before us, leaders like JFK, who met with Khrushchev, like Roosevelt, who met with Stalin,
like Donald Trump,
Reagan, who met and worked with Gorbachev. These issues of national security are incredibly important. I will meet with and do what is necessary to make sure that no more of our brothers and sisters in uniform are needlessly sent into harm's way fighting regime change wars that undermine our national security. I'll bring real leadership and experience to the White House.
Like a standing ovation and what she's talking about. She's talking about saving lives and what is going on for so long. And Buttigieg just lost his whole demeanor and temper.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's straight up lying. He's gaslighting is what's happening. He's like, oh, are you saying, do you really think we want to send troops to Mexico? Oh, my God. Like, that's gaslighting 101. Yeah. Because what she's referring to is, if you guys recall, like Pasta said, in Honduras, we sent troops there. Yeah. And you can say that you're doing it for cooperation. You can say you're doing it for any of those freaking bogus reasons. But the fact is, the only time we send troops is because we want something and we want to take over something. And let's not forget who's president of Mexico right now is
AMLO.
Yeah. Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Mm-hmm. That's what it stands for. And he is a leftist. He's the one that welcomed Evo Morales from Bolivia. So Tulsi is intuitive. She's already seeing these pieces move. She's already seeing the plan in action. She's already seeing how we're already looking into regime change in Mexico. And that's not an outlandish statement to make when you've seen the regime change playbook over and over again. It looks exactly the same every single time.
Yeah.
So what she said is entirely accurate. And so the SAC B basically said there are two claims Gabbard is making. While she correctly stated Buttigieg would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight cartels, which would be the excuse. Mm-hmm. His response to the question about drug cartels was far more nuanced and simple, yes. But Buttigieg also incorrectly attributed Gabbard's claim, given she never suggested Buttigieg supported invading Mexico. She never suggested that. But here's the thing. What she suggested was him sending military there to deal with the cartels, which, of course, translates to now we have military in Mexico that is going to go and help, bring about democracy and help. It's the same thing.
It's a presence for money in the military-industrial complex getting paid with our tax dollars as well. And he was starting to go down that rabbit hole. And he was like, yeah, we've done security thing even. Are you really? He just pivoted off too quickly because he realizes he was talking like a warmonger about sending troops down below. It's like, wait, what do you mean we have people and we have troops in Mexico. What's going on over here? And you're going to send more. It's like that's why he pivoted quickly. And really, to tell you the truth, the point of the white flag for me was when she was naming the leaders meeting with her. He says, and Trump and Kim, wave the white flag, Papa. You're done. Stick a fork in you. You just lost any chance of getting any non-interventionist support, any independents that would ever vote for you, any libertarian-minded people. They're never going to vote for you now, ever. For those things that you set up there about Assad and about Kim, you done did it to yourself. So
I would never meet with a brutal dictator.
So
so what? Where you're going to go to war instead?
Yep.
Okay, so why should we vote for you if you're the same kind of status quo politician? Like Kamala, that is going to continue this sort of foreign policy. Yeah. So she really just ended him there, fam.
Let's just check real quick.
But Tulsi, she met Assad.
Who else? Did Nancy Pelosi meet her?
Nancy. Oh yeah.
Nancy. Yeah.
Okay.
So now that we know that Tulsi, is still in Assad toady, like what's her name said.
Is that Barbara Bush or the Queen? That's the Queen, right?
That's the
Queen.
The Queen.
So we have to call her the Queen anymore. Barbara Bush and the Queen look alike. Hey, Maris, thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. The blue Phil has side effects. I think you're trying to say the blue pill. But if Phil has side effects, he has side effects. Zcon. Do I say that right? X-I-can? Zcon. No matter what, nomination or not, Tulsi 2020 will be a presence and a force. Is not going away.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too as well. And Ruth P., thank you so much for the super chat contribution.
Thank you, Ruth.
As it is always appreciated on the couch. Tulsi, like Bernie, is a movement in my opinion, and it seems movement are what works best.
I can agree with that.
You better believe it because no matter what, I mean, people are like, oh well, how can you not support Bernie over Tulsi right now? First of all, I love them both. And Bernie is the one who started this gangster, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
And Tulsi's the MF thanks we get. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, it's a different type of movement. It's different areas. It's different parts of policy, but together it's like a nexus if we can meet in one spot. And when people say Tulsi's not a serious candidate, all she is a attack dog for to go after the establishment, or Bernie's attack dog. Well, first of all, I don't think she's Bernie's attack dog, but if she's doing that work that Bernie don't do, isn't that good for Bernie Sanders?
Right.
I don't understand where you people are coming from who get mad to say, why is Tulsi running against Bernie? Tulsi has never said one thing bad against Bernie and has done so much attack work for him.
Yeah,
that benefits him.
I honestly 100% agree with you. I don't get the mentality of like thinking she's doing anything that is even hurting him at this point. She hasn't. I mean, she's really actually doing him a lot of favors. And like I said, I'm a Bernie supporter, and I feel like she's just pretty much an ally. I mean, she's running her own campaign. Yes, she's nobody's own attack dog. She's her own person, and she has her own, way of being. And I appreciate that, but that's what I'm saying is I don't see any sort of like malice from her in any way, shape, or form. I want to point out this thing that Nicole Alexander Fisher posted, that Obama was actually in 2008 was answering the question if you would be willing to talk with leaders of Iran, Syria, Venezuela, and North Korea, and he said I would, and we can just play that little video.
Senator Obama?
I would. And the reason is this, that the notion that somehow not talking to countries is punishment to them, which has been the guiding diplomatic principle of this administration, is ridiculous. Now, Ronald Reagan and Democratic presidents like JFK constantly spoke to Soviet Union at a time when Ronald Reagan called them an evil empire. And the reason is because they understood that we may not trust them, they may pose an extraordinary danger to this country, but we have the obligation to find areas where we can potentially move forward.
Oh, the Obama.
No, that was Obama before.
Talk the talk.
Yeah, exactly. That was Obama before.
Tulsi walked the walk.
Yeah.
Tulsi's the one who went and did the work and stuff. She's the one who went out there with Dennis Kucinich to Syria.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so, I mean, that literally, like, almost verbatim. From what Obama said.
So really, that's just to show the hypocrisy of the Democrats, who are like, "Oh, you wouldn't do that."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. The Democratic Party has definitely gotten more tribal. It's gotten more to the identity politics. It's gotten more dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gotten bad. Really, it has, and it's really matriculated to this point of where it's just anybody you talk to that disagrees with you or doesn't think like you is evil. It's very, very tribal. And Obama was that hope and change that we thought he would bring apart. And he talked about on the campaign trail about starting a national bank, talking to our adversaries, pulling out of all these areas. Now, he did pull out of a lot of areas, but he also just replaced it with drones and went drone crazy too as well.
So,
but here, more about PDB over here, right?
So PDB is a hypocrite because he said, "Oh, you met with Trump," and so he's been meeting with Pence. Now they both come from the same state of Indiana, but he's been hanging out with Pence here, and it's kind of a little ridiculous, to go after somebody for like trying to talk to the president of the United States. So I just wanted to point out his hypocrisy here because it's hilarious. And Mike Pence is a homophobe. It just makes everything really just strange.
Well, maybe he thinks he can give him therapy to get him to heal him.
I don't know.
This is where the conversion therapy that everybody's talking about over here is. It's right there. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. It's just really weird to me. And, I just think how much of a hypocrite do you have to be, Petey, to call her out for that? So, yeah. Fam. So
let me check and see if there's anything else going on over here. I thought I saw something. While you're on, Pete, emphasis what happened in Honduras. Please, didn't we already emphasis? We talked about it. Scott, are you watching our show? We read your super chat contribution
10,000 times.
Yeah, dude.
I'm going to show some stuff at the end.
All right. Okay. Hey, Scott McLaughlin, hang on. Jonny Tsunami has something at the end for you. That was my...
Fam.
No, not good? No. All right. I'll work on it, ladies and gentlemen.
Just stick to your... it's always appreciated
on the couch. Okay, here. So here's A. Maris. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. It says coastal progressives who don't get involved in Midwest elections, coverage, boots on the ground, are not allowed to voter shame and be held to account, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Is that directed towards us? Because it's not about...
I don't think he was talking about us, was he?
I don't know.
I thought he was talking about the people we were talking about.
We are in the coast, though.
Yeah, I thought he was.
But I mean, flat out, like, if they take the money, if they're lying, if anything, and you continue to vote for them, I mean, that's your prerogative, But it's like, why would you do that? So.
What about this one?
This is hilarious. A Bernie supporter was blocked by a man. Giant man, when this woman was interviewing I believe it was a Buttigieg or Biden supporter. I think it was a Biden supporter, by the news. And so she was holding up this sign, and let's just watch the video because it's funny.
I gotta see this. I didn't see this.
What the sacrifices are going to be, whether it be higher taxes, whether it be we need to give up some programming, scale it back on some other things. I really want to know that fiscal angle to what they are proposing to us.
What the fuck is going on?
A track record also helps.
What the hell's going on here?
Heard of them before.
Why is he blocking that?
Because it has a sign.
Wait.
The sign says Bernie won Michigan, 73 counties.
What? Okay.
Kent County by 252 points.
Who's the interview with?
Centrist. I think it's a Biden supporter.
Okay. So somebody
the other
really...
person just had a sign up, and the guy
Look at this guy. What the heck is going on over here? These people are demented. They're trying to suppress every type of voice, every type of... I mean, they are really trying to control the narrative. Really. I mean, this is why I talk about civil liberties, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to quiet it down on every single level, even to the point where they don't even want to let you see their signs. Hold on, wait. So we're doing a show here.
It's almost
move
like
your face. Move your face
so I can move.
It's like here we go. So we're doing the convo couch. Hold on. Here we go. Blocking the face. This is ridiculous.
Or blocking.
All right, so let's get to the next part over here. All right, Bernie Sanders. Monroe's College today. Come on. Hold on. Go ahead. Can't.
Oh my God, that was too funny. I'm sorry.
I mean, seriously. Where do you find this stuff? That is just too much.
It's so funny because it's so freaking ridiculous.
They're trying to silence.
Look at Nina. Isn't she wonderful?
Nina's amazing.
Nina is big.
It was a special honor to be at Morehouse College today, to look out at the statue of Dr. King, and to be joined by so many young people in the fight for education, and justice. We will undo the hatred coming from Trump's White House. We will bring people together.
Good job, fam. That was a good.
I mean, I had a good Bernie Sanders over there. No,
you do. So,
Jesus.
There's a lot of people of color.
Yes.
There. So.
Oh, there's the dog. Give me the dog. Give us the dolphin. Come on, give us a good one. There you go. Can I say something? When it comes to Bernie Sanders rallies, this time around, a lot more diversified.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard's last rally, a lot more diversified. People are finding out about these candidates and they're getting out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not listening to the bullshit, and this is why independent media works.
Mm-hmm.
We squeak against the avalanche.
Oh,
and
God,
people are
you
hearing.
and your squeaking.
Chris Hedges, squeak against the
Fam,
avalanche.
I know. Every time you say it, it doesn't change it.
All right, so who's getting a lot more Latinos at their
Okay, so this is why I didn't put Joe Biden as one of the people we need.
Hold on. Before we go into that, I just wanted to show that when he did speak at Morehouse College, he came out to a certain song. And
President of the United States of America.
I like this
Senator
song.
Bernie Sanders. Thank you.
Oh, Bernie needs to learn how to do like the.
Thank you.
We can put some glasses on him.
President of the
Him
United States of
smoking.
America.
That's great. Somebody just said in the super,
Bernie's
not
a
on the
real
super
one.
chat, but Ian said Tulsi desperately needs to get people of color prominently in her campaign, like Nina Turner as an example. People like that. Let's not forget she is a woman of color herself.
As far as I've seen, she has them in her campaign. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see more African American support there. I think that could be potentially something she wants to focus on. I agree with that.
Well, remember, she doesn't have a big payroll. There's not a lot of people on her staff getting paid.
Yeah.
Sunil is a man of color. You know what I'm saying?
Nico House supports her.
Nico
fully.
House. I mean, there are. I mean,
He's
she
like-
has a very small niche crew. Her sister is a woman of color. Her husband Abraham.
They're all people of color.
I mean,
but,
yeah, I mean, as much as she can, but we're seeing a lot more supporters that way.
There was a lot of Latinos at her last town hall, by the way. So
speaking of Latinos,
so the reason why I've never thought that Joe Biden was a serious threat is because he literally like punches himself all the time. You don't have to do much. So Joe Biden, of course, told immigrant rights activists that who wanted to end the deportations to vote for Donald Trump instead, because he refuses to form a serious path to citizenship. So he was like, you need to vote for Donald Trump. So there's a video, Johnny, if you can just play it quickly.
all right, we got some things to talk about this one after too as well.
My name is Sylvia, and every day I live under the fear that ICE is going to separate my family.
Usted ha defendido a 3 millones de deportaciones que ocurrieron cuando Obama era presidente.
I have heard that you have defended Obama's record of 3 million deportations that happened over the 8 years that he was in office.
Y por eso es difícil confiar en usted. Yo quiero saber si usted es elegido presidente, podría poner fin a las deportaciones el día de su primer día de mandato.
Because of the deportations were so high under the Obama administration, it is hard for me as an immigrant to trust you. And I want to know, if you were to be president, will you stop deportations on day one through executive action?
No. I will not stop all deportations. I'll prioritize deportations, only people who committed a felony or a serious crime.
Separated from their families.
Yeah.
We had this classification of families.
You should go for Trump. You should go for Trump.
No, I'm not going to do that. But I want to make sure that immigrant families and people like Sylvia are not fair. And you have the power as a candidate to actually commit to stop all deportation from day one to executive action, and we want to hear you say that.
I will not stop all deportations if you commit a crime that's a felony.
Not one more.
Okay. Well,
Dude, can this just Joe away?
Dude.
Just Joe away.
That
Joe
was disgusting. That was terrible.
It's just awful.
Johnny, do you want to say anything about that?
What was that? Vote for Trump.
How dare you?
He's telling people to vote for Trump? That's crazy.
For wanting to end deportations?
Well, I mean, what he's doing is he's trying to say, dude, if you're not going to make a move on this, then they should vote for Trump. I mean, if you're not going to do this, seriously, because here's the thing. Joe Biden has excused Obama's deportations.
Yep.
Obama built the cages.
Yeah.
Trump just exasperated them. And these people are not going to vote for Joe Biden because he lies to their face and then goes behind their back and then deports them. So that's why this guy is saying, like, we shouldn't even vote for you over Trump. That's what he's saying. And I don't think, and he even said, I'm not going to do that, which we're not going to do. But I mean, that's the whole mentality behind it, I think.
But Joe Biden is like, yeah, vote for Trump. He's not saying, like, look, I'll work with you. He's like, no, I'm not going to end deportation.
He's like, you should vote for Trump.
No, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to. It's like, come on, dude. You have a plan. Have a freaking plan. Bernie Sanders has a freaking pathway to legalization. Tulsi Gabbard had something on her website about restoring, finding a pathway to citizenship, decriminalizing some of these the crossings. You have to have a plan. He has nothing to offer them. And then he turns it around on them. And
it was really aggressive.
Very aggressive. And that's, you know what I did like about this is that I'm seeing the Latinos kind of stand up and say, oh, just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you get away from the fact that you deported under Obama 3 million people for no reason. You deported them. You didn't fix their situation. And now you guys want to pretend that all of this started with Donald Trump. No. And I'm glad that they're not letting them get away with the tokenizing of the Latino community anymore, because that has really what's been bothering me for the longest time, is like how the Democratic Party pretends to be the party of the immigrants, but really they don't do shit for them.
And Ian Ferguson says, if you don't like us, vote for Trump. We ain't changing. That's what he's saying.
Basically, yeah.
That's what he's saying. Biden is not running versus Trump, and Biden is a sadistic pedophile, is what it said. I'd like to say thank you very much to the Super Chat contribution. Listen to this name, guys. Pasty Gangsta. Pasty? Like not like pasta gangsta. Pasty?
Pasty gangsta.
Pasty. No, pasty.
No, it's pasty.
It's pasty. That
all right,
makes
pasty
sense.
gangster. I'm sorry, I can't read. Keep up the good
Pasta's
work.
terrible, you guys.
It's awful.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You guys are. I hate you.
I apologize. I think that's it, fam.
That is it.
I got a few things.
Huge show. Go ahead, Johnny.
Okay.
Oh, can I do some? After that, I'll do some unpacking of some shows we got coming up. So go ahead.
Okay. So I guess.
We have to talk about this.
We never, we talked about this during the debate when it happened, but.
Oh yeah, we need to mention this. It's all over my Facebook too.
We saw this night, whatnot.
I got this notification on my phone from CNN. It says debate winners and losers analysis. Harris got the better of Gabbard. Biden committed an unforced error, and no one except Klobuchar really took on Buttigieg. Y'all just saw how Tulsi took on Buttigieg and fucking put him in his place.
Yeah, that, and also how Gabbard got the better of Harris, and also notice whose name isn't even on there. Bernie freaking Sanders, who had the best performance out of all of the debates he's had, not even there. Not even there. Yeah. That is how disgusting the mainstream media is, and this is how they do. And CNN above all of them, I swear.
Yeah. I think that there
Clinton News Network.
We also have the thing when they kind of made the error where they it said like Buttigieg beat up on Gabbard, and then it was like you have
it's on my Twitter, Johnny. I don't know.
I actually got a bunch of these. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. Jimmy already did a show on that one too. We talked about that. Giovanna Liviana says, and thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch.
You don't need to do it every time.
Joe Biden.
Jesus.
More like no Biden. Sorry. Chloroform. More like boraflorm.
I'm going to put chloroform right here.
Okay. So we saw the CNN one, and then Abraham retweeted, LOL, the greatest hit smear is not sticking, so now this just in. Tulsi Gabbard's white pantsuit isn't winning. The New York Times. Wait, was that this debate? Or was
no, that was this debate.
It was this debate.
Yes, this debate.
Okay. And then, someone pointed out, I saw it was that the New York Times also wrote a while ago, on Election Day, the Hillary Clinton white suit effect.
Yeah, I remember. They're so bad, it's like impossible not to call them out.
Yeah. The Outsider Report says, can my channel get a shout out? I never heard about the Outsider Report. I'll take a look at it, but there's your shout out, my friend. Thank you for joining the Convo Couch.
Is there more, Donnie?
Yes, I got a little bit more.
Yeah.
Here's another one from, of course, Bloomberg, who has everybody's face up there except for
Tulsi Gabbard.
The regime change
And
or
Steyer, right?
Candidate.
No,
No, Steyer's there.
Gabbard.
Everyone's there except for
Steyer's
Tulsi.
there.
Except for Tulsi.
Klobuchar.
Everyone's there except for Tulsi.
They're just disgusting.
So yeah.
Disgusting.
So I don't know if we can pull it up, but
Bloomberg probably fears Tulsi.
Yeah, I don't think they like her very much. Oh yeah, and this one was one of my favorites.
Here's one I saw. Here's another one. MSNBC subliminal messaging by putting red only but behind the anti-establishment candidates.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Kamala had a blue background apparently. Yang, yeah, I'd say Yang is anti-establishment.
Yeah, I would say he's
not
a
with the
capitalist. He's not progressive, but he's anti-establishment for sure.
Scott McLaughlin with the super chat contribution. Thank you very
Scott.
much, as it is always appreciated.
I think they're
on the
doing
couch.
this to annoy me now.
Well, the people are doing it to annoy you.
Yeah, you guys stop.
Guys, keep doing it. Biden wanted to punch out domestic violence. You don't like the jingle?
Fam.
You love the jingle.
I don't like repetitiveness.
We got 200 people watching on the couch over here. Jai Gabbard's with us. Reese Mack.
Jai.
Yes,
So,
Amers,
do not send him
Freebirds.
coffee, please.
Okay, so here's also what I wanted to get to because
dude.
Medea Benjamin is doing amazing work. She is in Bolivia.
Yep, she is.
And you all should follow her on Facebook or whatever so you can see her videos. But you know what? We're gonna show this because here's some autopsies that she got to see, and you can see everyone's dead is indigenous
Jesus
people
Christ.
From the massacres. So, I mean, here's some sound.
Putting them in the coffins now. "37 years old.
That's awful.
And this person, far from La Paz, is very well organized. They have closed down every street. The street we came up on, we only got.
Yeah, I just wanted to show a little bit of that. I mean, there's some bodies there. There's a lot more footage that she has there. A bunch of protests. Look at this. Look at this. Holy sh! Look at this one. Hold on.
Oh, this is a great one, guys. Watch this protest. This is what I'm talking about.
Hold on. It's loading. Hold on.
De que muchos de nuestros hermanos han sido agasados, masacrados por mediante balas, y pedimos también de que hagan retornar los cadáveres que ellos están ocultando, hermanos. Y es por
Here we
eso
are
que
in Sancata, where the gas plant is. They're saying that the president is an assassin and that the military has some of the dead bodies.
los cadáveres, hermanos. Caso contrario, todo el norte de Potosí y todo el pueblo del Alto nos vamos a tener que movilizar, hermanos, hasta las últimas consecuencias, hermanos.
We, the people in El Alta, have to organize to the last consequences.
Dichos hermanos, jalaya el Estado Nacional de Bolivia. Jalaya el Alto, hermanos. Gloria a los caídos, hermanos.
Old Gringo, he's there. He says, I always love it when Pasta appreciates donations. Thank you for the super chat contribution, Old Gringo. This is a free one for you, and it is always appreciated on the couch. It is awesome to see that the stuff that's going on in Bolivia. I am praying every day that we get Morales back there, and he gets to
I feel
take
like
that
before we
country
get him back
over.
there, he needs an army of people to go back with him. He's got the people, but the people in power are the ones that are, the Nazi alt-right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of Medea.
Okay, so here we are in front of the Sancata plant where the gas for people's cooking as well as for the cars is stored. And there has been for 2 weeks now blockades that the people who are against the coup and have been pro-Evo Morales have been setting up to try to put pressure to stop gasoline from going into the city of La Paz and force the government to resign.
So that's just a little bit. I just want
It makes me
people
want to go
know.
there right now.
You know, she was harassed too by
Yeah.
the state police in
Oh, yeah.
Washington. The same thing that happened with Max Blumenthal for the same thing.
For
what happened for the
Venezuela.
Venezuelan protest?
Mhm.
They showed up at her house.
They raided her house.
Yeah, it was terrible and
Yeah.
stuff. And Ian Ferguson says, Fee, don't ever forget you're on film. A lot of witnesses in case you can barely not kill pasta for saying that. Okay? So thank you so much, Ian Ferguson,
You
for
guys
looking out
just
for
want to
me.
keep him alive for entertainment.
Yeah.
He's an entertainment to you guys, but he's annoying to me.
And Rocky Bellinger is online as well. John Noddy, I need to speak to you, John Noddy. We love you. We miss you. John Noddy is hanging out. Emmy Jones. Michiko is still there. We love our Michiko. Good friends of ours. Daisy Chacon. Sarah Williams is there. Cheyenne still there. Cheyenne sent me some stuff too as well. I forgot how to get it ready. Talking about the people in Bolivia, that there are some descendants of Spanish-style Nazis, I believe, who are now Janine Perez, whatever her name is. I have to bring all that stuff out.
Well,
she sent me some interesting stuff when you talk about Nazis.
The
and alt-right.
Nazis, the Nazis left Europe, and a lot of them went to South America. So they've
Argentina.
whatever
Yeah, I
they
heard
went.
Argentina.
The
Yeah.
majority of them went to Argentina. The majority of them.
Yeah.
But of course they went everywhere, and so there's different groups of, we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is definitely a theory. I'll get that article next time up. All right, guys, it's been 76 minutes, and that is 77 minutes. Hockey sticks. That means it's time. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Next week, we have some great guests. Kevin Zeese will be on with us via Skype. Kevin Zeese, Fiorella, had an interview with Kevin Zeese one day. He didn't even tell me. Somebody said Johnny Sue rules. But she's like, I got an interview. I went downstairs, and I turned on the TV, not the TV on my computer, and Fiorella is talking to one of the guys I love most, Kevin Zeese, who is another foreign
he's a
policy junkie.
fangirl. He's a fangirl of Kevin Zeese, and I didn't know that, and I was just
Kevin Zeese and
interviewing
Mark Sloboda are my two favorites, and they're both on our shows. This will be the second time. The first time I get to get on with Kevin Zeese. Tuesday, we're going to talk a little bit about the impeachment. We'll talk a little bit about Bolivia. We'll touch on what's going on in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guest. He was one of the Venezuelan embassy survivors, what do you call it? Protectors that were staying in there when everything was going down. And so Kevin Zeese will be with us too as well. We also have Thanksgiving. Next week is Thursday, so we'll see what's going on. We probably won't be doing a show, I doubt, but that will be a day off.
Unless
Everyone
you
join
want
us
us to do a show with a turkey.
Yes, I might want to do a
do
show with
that.
a turkey. But next week
Yeah.
is Kevin Zeese, and we have a lot of candidates that will be coming in to the place, into the studio to talk about a lot of things. A lot of grassroots candidates, a lot of super progressive candidates. I believe Rachel Rossi is now on the books. She's running for DA of L.A., Jackie Lacey's position. I
Oh,
believe.
God.
So she'll be in the studio
Jackie Lacey
very,
must go.
very soon as well. And we have a list, a board of people we're going to talk to. We also have the debates next month.
Mahalo, Jai.
Mahalo, Jai. December, he's saying,
Mahalo.
free bird. We love you guys all. So we're going to get out of here for Pasta Jardula.
And Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on those ones and twos.
Peace.
Combo out.
Join our
Have a great
Rockfin, our
weekend.
Patreon, our YouTube, our Twitch,
We'll have
our
some
Twitter.
stuff up there.
We love you guys.
Bye. Russia.
Oh, I didn't hit the black screen.